for life. Yeah. I don't need a hand to hold, even when the night is cold. I got that fire in my soul.
Hey everybody, it's Rayleigh. First off, I want to say thank you for everybody that watched my last video, the Get to Know Me video. This video that I'm about to do was highly requested by like everybody that I know. Okay, so let's just get right into the video. So if you're already on birth control, you know that you have to take a pregnancy test before they can give you your birth control. So that's what I did. I peed and I took my pregnancy test. And, you know, while I was sitting there waiting, I was just on my phone, you know. Maybe like 10 minutes later, the nurse came into the room, and she had this face, and I will never forget the face that she had. Like, it was just, I just already knew what she was about to tell me, because if I was going to get put on birth control, obviously, she would have been bringing in the shot and stuff, you know, to get ready. And she wasn't. She had the test. And her face, oh my God, I'll never forget her face. Let me tell y'all, my grandma was not in the room with me. She was in another room with my great-grandma because she had an appointment that day too. So she was in the other room. So I was there by myself. And the lady was like, "Ma'am, we can't give you the birth control." And I was like, why? I mean, obviously I knew why. I saw her face, you know. And she was like, "Well, you're pregnant, congratulations." And the first thing I did was bust out crying. I was like shaking, and I just kept telling her, "Oh my gosh, my parents are gonna kill me, they're not gonna love me no more." And she was like, "No, your parents are still gonna love you." I was like, "No, like, you don't know my parents." So like I said a while ago, my grandma was not in the room with me, so I asked the nurse if she would go tell my grandma for me because I couldn't. And she said, "Yes, I'll go tell your grandma." So she stepped out of the room to go tell my grandma. And I called my boyfriend crying, telling him, like, what am I gonna do? And he was like, "Just calm down. Everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this." And I, like, no, like, I could not calm down. How do you calm down in a situation like that? So the nurses came back into the room, and I was like, okay, so what can I do? Like, how, I do not want this. This is not what I want. You know, I do sports, and I don't want this. And she was like, "Okay, well, we don't do abortions here, but there is places that you can go get an abortion here in Texas." And then my grandma walked in, and like, I looked at her, and my eyes were still red because I was crying still. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Are you mad at me?" You know, like, I was like crying. I was telling her, like, "Are you mad at me?" And she was like, "No, I mean, I'm upset, but you're gonna be okay, like, just calm down." So that kind of made me a little bit more like calm. And then it was time to leave, and I didn't have the birth control, so my mom was gonna be pissed. As soon as we got into the car, I called my mom, and I told her, "Mom, I didn't get the birth control." And she was like, "Oh my God, I knew you were gonna chicken out," because I am scared of shots, and she wanted me to get the shot. And she was like, "Go back and get it now." And I was like, "No, like, that's not why I didn't get it." She was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I'm pregnant." Before she had even called me though, I did send a picture of my pregnancy test to my sister Reagan. So when my mom was like, "No, like, shut up, you're not." And I was like, "I'm not lying. Look at Reagan's phone. I sent her a picture of my test. I'm pregnant." And like, she was just so mad, yelling at me, which made me start crying again. And she called my dad. She hung up on me, and she called my dad to tell my dad. She didn't even give me no time at all to tell her, like, my plan or how I wanted to tell my dad. Nothing. She called my dad. 2 seconds later, I was getting a call from my dad. And, you know, for those of y'all that do know my dad, y'all know how freaking scary he is. So when I answered the phone, I was like, still crying. I was like, "Hello?" And he was like, "What do you have to say for yourself?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, like, I'm gonna get an abortion. Don't even worry." And he was like, Rayleigh, I had so much going for you. You were the, you know, he like gave me a big old speech because my dad does look at me very highly. I'm like straight A student. I'm also like varsity cheerleader, state powerlifter. You know, like I looked up highly from him. So when he, I guess that like all his standards of me just dropped, and you know I was upset with myself because mostly because of my dad. I hurt my dad. Way home from the doctors, my dad called me again, and he pretty much told me that he was gonna like cut off all communication of me and my boyfriend. He also put a restraining order on my boyfriend, and you know I was just crying, bawling, and when I got home, my mom took up my phone. So obviously I had like no communication with him, and I already knew they were gonna do that. So I told him, like, just I'm gonna talk to you, you know, like. And so yeah, that happened. They cut off communication between me and my boyfriend, and my mom called an abortion clinic for me, and you know that's what I was gonna do. Then I just kind of was sitting there, and I was like, I can't get an abortion. And no, everybody thinks it's because my boyfriend wanted the baby. That is not why. It's my body. If I choose to grow something inside me, that's what I choose. That's what I did choose. I chose to keep the baby, but I did take the call because I had to do like an interview. I did do the interview through the phone with the abortion clinic, and I was just listening to all these girls' stories because it was like a group. Everybody had to call, like all the people that were gonna get an abortion, we all had to call, and it was like a group, and they just talked to us, like why we had to or why we were gonna get it. And there were some sad stories, and that's, if I didn't take that call, I probably would have went through with it. But that was a big part of me, like not wanting to do it because they were forced into getting the abortion. Their parent, like there was like young girls, like 13. There was a 14-year-old that her dad said that if she didn't get it, she wasn't gonna have anything. And so I was like, wow, like, you know, I have an opportunity to keep it. So I was like, whatever, I'm gonna keep it because that's my choice. So once I got off the phone with the clinic, I went to my mom's room and I told her I was gonna keep it, and she was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. So she was like, okay, well, we're gonna support you. She was like, your dad, it might be a while, but you know, we're gonna support you through this. And I was like, I felt like, oh my gosh, like my mom's gonna support me through this, everything's gonna be okay. But my dad still was mad at me, and we didn't talk for like a month and a half. And you know, that was hard for me because I love my dad, you know, but it was just really hard because it was like I couldn't talk to my boyfriend, you know, I couldn't talk to my dad. I had my mom, which I'm very grateful for, but like some of my siblings weren't so happy. They were like really like they were mad at me, but I was like, this is what I choose. When my dad found out that I decided to keep the baby, he took me out of cheerleading, and I was livid. Like I was so mad at him. I like was telling him some rude things, and now that I think about it, I want to cry because I'm an emotional pregnant girl. But you know what? I was mad. He took me out of cheer, took my boyfriend away, didn't have a phone, you know, like it made me upset. And then, like I said, we didn't talk for that month and a half. That month and a half, he saw how depressed I was, and he finally went to the living room because I guess my mom had been talking to him, saying that I wasn't myself, and he was crying, and he was like, Rayleigh, I'm gonna let you see your boyfriend. He was like, if this is what you choose to do, oh my god, I'm gonna start crying. He was like, if this is what you choose to do, I'm gonna support you. And he was like, and I don't want your son to grow up without a dad. So I was like super happy about that. they weren't getting along at first, but now they are. We had our gender reveal. My dad went, and I didn't expect my dad to go because he had told me he's not going. And then he ended up going, he ended up going to my gender reveal. And everybody was happy. I found out I was having a boy. He even told my boyfriend congratulations. So that was good. And yeah, I'm just happy that they're finally getting along now. And now everything's okay. Also, the other day I had my sonogram for my halfway mark because I am almost 23 weeks pregnant as of today. And they told me that they're gonna move up my due date because Mijo's big. So, which wasn't a surprise because my mom had all of us, we were all big. And then my boyfriend, he's big, you know, so I kind of knew like I'm gonna have a big baby. But, so yeah, I was supposed to be due at the beginning of May. Now I'm due towards the end of April, like almost 2 weeks earlier than what I expected. So yeah, and now everybody's okay, you know, everybody accepts it, and I'm happy. So yeah, that's all that really matters to me, is that if I'm happy and my little family's happy. I'm glad that my dad is now happy because that was a big step for him, and I know that because his little girl having a baby, when he still sees his daughter as a baby, you know, that was hard. So now I kind of see, like, you know, everything happened for a reason. So yeah, it was my 16 and pregnant story. Hope y'all liked it. Please like and subscribe this video, and thank you for everybody that requested for me to do this video. Bye.
Open it.
It's a